Hello and welcome to today's video. What do you think you're doing? I'm making a YouTube video? A YouTube video looking like that? Showcasing your yellow crooked teeth? This whole situation? What is it about? Ouch. It's about the undefined ego and how 65% of people have an inbuilt mechanism of low self-worth and a not self voice that puts them down. You honestly believe that you know enough to talk about human design on YouTube? Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I do. And I have been doing readings for 7-8 years. Scam artist. Who are you? And how did you get in here? Is that my brownie you're eating? This is really good. I know, it's really good. Delicious. You made this? Really good. It's the best. Sorry about that. I just had to have a little chat with the not self voice of the undefined ego. Maybe you are familiar with the sound of this voice. In human design, the undefined ego is such an important mechanic to understand so that it doesn't stop you from sharing your light, from doing you in the world in the fullest way that you can. And this is why I'm creating this video. It's because of this pesky little triangle in the middle of the chart that will likely be undefined, meaning it's going to be left blank in your chart. So you can check whether you have a defined or undefined ego. 65% of people have an undefined ego. The not self voice of the undefined ego, meaning the voice that will speak in your head when you have this center undefined, is going to be telling you that you're not good enough, that you need more training, that you need to be better, wiser, younger, more beautiful, in order to do what you want to be doing in the world. In my work, I often work with entrepreneurs and especially healers and people that have a gift of helping others and uplifting others. And I have really seen over the years how this not self undefined ego can really stop people from sharing their work in the world. And it comes in really insidious ways that really sound like a logical, good idea. And that is why I created the Worth Workshop, which is a free video workshop where I go into how to find self-worth in your chart if you have an undefined ego. It also works if you have a defined ego, but I made it especially for those that have an undefined ego, because I had clients who were really blocked in getting out there and doing their amazing work just because of the not self voice of the undefined ego. In essence, if you have an undefined ego, the secret is to come back to the truth of who and what you are. What you are will be shown to you in your definition. So your type, your authority, your defined centers, your defined channels, your defined gates, your profile, all of those things will tell you about who you are and how who you are is a gift to the world just as you are. You do not need to have a defined ego to access a sense of value about who you are. When I started doing human design readings 7-8 years ago, every single reading I did for about 5-6 years, a long time, every single reading, that not self voice would tell me, why did you sell a reading? Who do you think you are? You didn't get enough training. You're not gonna be good at this. They're gonna feel like they wasted their money. What are you thinking? Are you crazy? You're scamming these people. And it would go off and there would be alarm bells and fear. And this would often happen just before I started the reading, like minutes before. And that's where I would just calm myself down and I would just check in with myself. Did this reading come to me as a generator? Like, was it something that I went out and tried to make happen, or did it come to me? and I would see, okay, it came to me. Do I feel like doing this? Do I actually have energy for this reading? And then the answer would be yes, and I would go ahead and I would do the reading with nothing to prove, just because I felt like it and I had energy for it, and it would go well. So I've had all good readings. I've had amazing readings. I have loved doing the readings that I've done, and yet my non-self voice, had I listened to it, would have convinced me quite emphatically that I shouldn't be doing them. The very trick of the not self is that it speaks in your own mind. So it sounds like you and it sounds like truth. And that's why being aware of the mechanics of these centers that are undefined in our chart can really help us to navigate our own self-awareness. I will say that having a defined ego, although it is an incredible advantage in terms of business and pricing and setting deals that are reciprocal, it's definitely not a guarantee that you are going to be bestowed with consistent self-worth, although it often can look like that. I have seen that people who have struggled a lot in childhood, for example, and had trauma that affected their sense of self-worth, they too can struggle with low self-esteem having a defined ego, but the cause of the lack of self-esteem is a different cause in that case. In this case, it would be some healing that's required in order for them to move beyond the lack of self-worth. Please comment below and let me know how you are handling the undefined ego or the defined ego. I'd love to hear more, and that can inspire a future video as well. I want to highlight that having an undefined ego is a mechanic of your chart. In this video here, I explain about the mechanics of the defined and the undefined centers and how they work together. In essence, undefined centers take in and amplify energies around them, and they represent a center or a theme that will be inconsistent in our lives. So having the undefined ego means that the themes related to the ego center are not consistent and reliable in our chart. One of those themes is value, self-value, self-worth. It can also be related to money. So for those of us in business, it can be hard to price our offerings, for example, because our sense of the value and worth of our offerings can really be fluctuating. I'm just laughing because of how many times this has happened to me. Oh, it's just been ongoing. But that's the point of what I'm saying, is that this is a mechanic. It's not something that needs to be changed or fixed. It's going to be there as a part of who you are for the rest of your life. And this is really just about understanding it and accepting the mechanics of how you're designed. It's not a flaw. In fact, I really love the undefined ego, and I loved it from the moment that I saw this one music video of Neil Young, a Canadian folk artist, and he's singing on this stage in the BBC. I'll see if I can find the clip just to show you, or maybe I'll link it below if I can find it. When I watched the video, I knew immediately he had an undefined ego center, and I went and looked up his chart, and indeed he does have an undefined ego. And I feel that he was just so representing the true beauty of this undefined center, which is that the person with the undefined ego is not out to prove anything. And if they are doing something in a true way, it won't be coming from any kind of egoic place. They will only be doing it because it's their thing to do and they have energy for it, or whatever their design is. It's really beautiful to be coming from a place of no agenda, no ego. It's so selfless. It's a pouring through of essence. I love that about the undefined ego. So if you're struggling with sense of low self-worth and it feels like it's keeping you from sharing yourself in the world in your fullest capacity, then you definitely can check out my Worth Workshop. It's a video that you watch, and it leads you through different aspects of your chart where you can find and access a knowing of your value as a unique individual. To access the Worth Workshop, you can go to karenmcmullen.ca/the Worth Workshop, or I'll link it below so that you can find it easily. So there are more aspects of the defined and undefined ego that I haven't mentioned today that maybe I'll go into in a different video, but today I just really wanted to talk about low self-esteem and low self-worth and address that directly. So if you're struggling with that, struggle no longer. Go watch the Worth Workshop and don't listen to that not self voice. Understand it's a mechanic, and then go do you, be you in all your glory. I'm sending you so much love. Thanks for watching. What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing? You honestly believe you know enough?